I have 2 minutes after, and we want to be respectful of your time. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we want to thank you, first of all, for joining the May Economic Development Roundtable. We try to do this monthly and have been able to do it monthly with different speakers, but we're still virtual. So we're looking forward to doing a hybrid. Many of you responded to the questionnaire, and we had people who wanted to continue with the hybrid model. We had people that wanted to get back in person and enjoy a meal together. And so we're going to take June off, and then in July, we hope to be able to present a hybrid model, which, as many of you know, is a little bit more complicated, but so that people could both join us for the presentation and enjoy the fellowship and networking that has been central to the Economic Development Roundtable for many years. So thank you for joining us. We're really excited today to have Vicki Cimino give us an update. She was reminiscing that it's exactly a year ago since she had done this for us, but a lot has changed over the last year in terms of tourism in Williamsburg. If you, again, if you cannot get the video, you can call in, and we're also taping this so that you can watch it at a later date. The last thing I think I want to let you know is to if you have not already, put your name in the chat so that we know the people and organizations that are in attendance. Vicki Cimino is the Executive Director and CEO of Visit Williamsburg, which means she's responsible for all of our marketing for Jamestown, Yorktown, and Williamsburg. And sometimes I think we don't see what Vicki is doing because most of that marketing is outside our market. So we don't see it on television, radio, and print media because it's marketing to people outside. But she's the primary person responsible for crafting the message and for delivering that message to attract visitors to our area. So Vicki, we're very excited to have you join us. You had joined in 2019 and have been working at this a couple of years through COVID. And we were hearing just yesterday that in downtown Williamsburg, our area has survived much better through COVID than almost any other area. We didn't lose any tenants downtown. Part of that was because we were able to really support our businesses through COVID, and part of it was because we continue to get visitors. And personally, I think Williamsburg is very attractive coming out of COVID as a domestic destination that people can drive or get to. And many of my clients don't want to go overseas, but they really want to see a fantastic outdoor vacation that is within drive distance. So it really plays well to all the strengths that we have. But we're so grateful for you continuing to craft the message both during and after COVID, and look forward to hearing what you have to say. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. And like you said, you know, locals don't get to see our best work that we're putting out there because we are focused on driving overnight visitation. And so, you know, let me share my screen and make sure I don't have any technical difficulties. Let's see here. Okay, can everybody see, or I guess, Rick, can you see my presentation? All right. Well, for some of you, this will be just a bit of a reminder about Visit Williamsburg and where we came from and what we do and where we're heading. And for some of you, this is going to be brand new information and mind-blowing. So, you know, please feel free to jot down questions as I go along. But so Visit Williamsburg, or the Williamsburg Tourism Council, was created by statute. It first went live on July 1 of 2018, and our organization is responsible for marketing and promoting the historic triangle, which, as Rick noted, is comprised of York County, James City County, and of course the city of Williamsburg. Our primary reason to exist is to increase overnight visitation, which then parlays into increased tax revenue. Our other strategic goals include unifying the region under the Destination Marketing Organization's tourism brand and strategy. So what that means is that, you know, kind of what's coming out of this community in the form of advertising looks similar and, you know, kind of from the same sheet of music, if you will. And we've worked very hard to improve our reporting, analytics, and certainly our data-driven optimization. And I'll kind of walk you through how we're implementing tactics that are executing these strategic goals. We have 11 people on our board of directors, 9 voting, 2 ex officio. And so Ruth Larson, who represents James City County, is our chair. Cliff Fleet, who represents Colonial Williamsburg, is our vice chair. And of course, Mayor Doug Pons from the city of Williamsburg is our treasurer. So we also have representation from Busch Gardens, the Hotel Motel Association, Jamestown Rediscovery, or basically Historic Jamestown, Jamestown Yorktown Foundation, the Restaurant Association, and York County. And so the Virginia Tourism Corporation and the Williamsburg Chamber of Commerce have ex officio seats. All of our board is outlined in statute. We are a public body, and with that, we adhere and comply to all of the things that a public body must comply with. One of those is the Conflict of Interest Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and the Procurement Act. And you can see here that any contracted work that exceeds the $30,000 threshold that's dictated by the Commonwealth of Virginia has gone out to bid and contracted in line with the Procurement Act. And so this is just an example of the types of partners we work with to execute our work every single day. Research is where we start with any project that we move forward with. We are data-driven every day of the week in order to ensure that we are resonating with our target audience. We participated in both quantitative and qualitative research programs. We test our brand campaign on an ongoing basis. We work with traveler focus groups to get an idea of what people think of this region as a tourism destination and where we have room to grow. And I'll share some examples of that. We also need to know what the perception is of the area in order to develop creative that will help us drive home new and different messaging if needed. Our creative platform is what I like to call defiantly human. So people make travel decisions based on sort of an emotional reaction in many cases. You know, I always say to folks that we're the best versions of ourselves when we're on vacation. I know that's certainly the case for me. And how we formulated our creative platform was around the idea that we all yearn for a regrounding. So when we plan that vacation, those 2 weeks that you get a year, if you're lucky, to kind of go out and reground and relax and, you know, kind of find that refreshing version of yourself. We know that we want to communicate that Williamsburg and the region is a safe and relaxing place to do just that, to escape from the strain and complexity, where really nothing's complicated, and we're reuniting you with what you love and reuniting you with, at the end of the day, what truly matters to you. And that's different for everybody. For some, reuniting with outdoor recreation and climbing mountains is, you know, what makes them feel whole after a vacation. For others, it's dining and shopping, and for others, it's museums and attractions. And so, what's wonderful about our region is we have a little bit of all of that. So, our creative platform is rooted in reuniting with what truly matters. And so Life at Your Pace, our campaign, was born about 2 years ago now, and it continues to test well. It's got great wear in. And so I'm just going to read you a little bit about Life at Your Pace. The world forces us to move at a pace that doesn't always make us comfortable. We yearn to get back to our pace of life as fast or as slow as we wish. We want to get control of our lives back. Williamsburg is the place to do just that, because your vacation is your vacation. You want to sleep in and have breakfast for lunch? Go for it. You want to play golf all day, every day for an entire week? It's your vacation. You want to hop in a canoe and see where the James River takes you without a paddle? Then head to Williamsburg and experience life at your pace. when we execute this creative campaign, and I will share some examples with you, we kind of fire on all cylinders. We currently have an $11.2 million annual advertising budget at play. 45% of that budget is utilized during the months of February, March, and April. Next year, I think you can anticipate that we'll be live on January 1 with our summer creative. We work through every tactic and channel you can think of, whether it's traditional TV or cable TV, connected TV. A new tactic this year is out-of-home marketing, and I'll show you a little example of that. We work through travel endemics, streaming audio. I don't need to read all of this to you, but you can see here that we really heavy up in the spring, and then we kind of taper down through the end of the year while keeping a heavy budget at play to promote fall and holiday activities here in the region as well. We are live in 21 designated market areas, or DMAs, as we call it in the biz here. Our expansion markets last year included Cleveland and Columbus, as well as New York, although we did not run TV in New York because the tri-state area at that point still had a lot of travel restrictions in place. And so we wanted to launch it, but we wanted to do it thoughtfully and make sure that we were sort of laying the groundwork for then what was launched as far as TV is concerned this year. We also launched a new market, Boston. Boston, there's a number of reasons. Boston already shows up on our radar as a strong origin market of visitors without any advertising at play. And so we knew that there was potential there. Household income level, education income level, all of these sort of demographic factors also play into and play well to our overall strategy. And there's quite a bit of direct airlift from Boston into the region. And so there's a ton of opportunity there. And we're already seeing, and again, we just launched in February, so we've been live for just about 3.5 months in that market. We've had a 300% increase in, visitation to our website from New York, 200% increase from New York. So it's exciting to see that pop. We basically target everybody from birth to death. But primarily, millennials and Gen X couples and families and active mature couples. We also put another layer on top of that where digitally we are focused on people who are already shopping for travel and have a search history where, we can tell that they've Googled vacation, within the last, 6 weeks or so. I'm going to show you a little bit of how life at your pace and the creative comes to life. So we have 3 different television spots because we have 3 different target personas. We have culture questers, simple strivers, and seers and doers. And so, like I said, not only are we targeting folks, from that geographic perspective, but the demographic perspective, and then we drill down into travel personas. So take a look at, I believe this is the Culture Quester television spot. And next, this is the seer and doer spot. And this little girl, she just cracks me up every time. She has such joy on her face. And of course, the simple strivers, which I've gotta say is probably the category that I fit into. I like things to kind of be easy when I'm on vacation, so here we go. And so you can see from these creative examples that we've worked to also sort of broaden people's awareness about travel product, tourism product that folks outside of this immediate region may not know exists. I mean, it always blows my mind that people forget that we are on the water. We on both sides of us, we have water. You know, those English settlers didn't get here by train, but but reminding folks that we have beaches and amazing aquaculture and fresh seafood. You know, beautiful little town centers. Our food and beverage scene is really impressive, and we've worked hard. And I'll talk a little bit more about that to expose people to our food and beverage scene and outdoor recreation. And I think, you know, what we learned from the pandemic is that, you know, we as a destination are right for what people were looking for at that time. They did not want sort of crowded city centers. They wanted to be out in the fresh air. They wanted to experience sort of those lovely town centers and walkable areas and enjoy that outdoor recreation. And so we worked really hard to incorporate a lot of that into our creative execution. These are just some more examples of, you know, different scenes. We've focused on golf quite a bit. I think that we can go head to head with other destinations nearby on our golf. We have 12 world-class golf courses that are available to folks, and you can certainly make a pretty intense weekend out of that. And then you can see how this parlays into fall and holiday and how we keep life at your pace kind of moving through the year, and whether it's sort of soaring at your pace or cheersing or celebrating, you're doing it at your pace on your own schedule. What's been fun about this campaign is that it also plays into some advertising programs that we've been able to launch, and this is a great example. So during the pandemic, when there was still a large part of our geographic target area sort of in lockdown, if you will, or remote learning, we adjusted Life at Your Pace to focus on, you know, if you're homeschooling your kids, why not do it from here? And so we adjusted that to be Remote Life at Your Pace, where we focused on parents and teachers and used sort of school community-based media partnerships to kind of talk to folks a little differently about, hey, you know, whether you're at your own kitchen table or, you know, in a lovely hotel driving overnight visitation here in the Williamsburg region, there's a lot of opportunity to have some fun and still kind of, you know, finish up that schoolwork. So we also have a cooperative marketing program. So this speaks to the idea of making sure that we're doing our work as a region, that that local suppliers have the opportunity to leverage the destination marketing organization's brand and creative. And so our co-op program, we now have 3 different media outlets that we work with, and that goes anywhere from $2,500 to $25,000. And the DMO, or destination marketing organization, will match partners on a one-to-one basis. So we tried to make it scalable so that, you know, whether it's a small boutique or a large attraction, they're able to sort of leverage the work that we're doing and the brand. So this year, now that kind of cities are filling up again, and you see more people commuting and using subway stations, We launched the out-of-home program that we had hoped to launch a couple of years ago. And so what that means is sort of subway stations, digital live boards, like these are some great examples from Baltimore. We had a giant wallscape in Cleveland and kiosks throughout the city. In 4 out of these 6 markets, we launched station dominations. And what that means is that every single piece of creative in that particular train station is Williamsburg. So all Williamsburg all the time. And here are some great examples of just, and trust me, if any of you have sort of lived in a city and had to stand on a hot subway platform where it smells and, and you're sweating and you're just like, oh gosh, I wish I were anywhere else but this subway platform. These are really great places to increase brand awareness in some of these larger markets that are, some are proven markets for us, some are new. So we also launched in December of 2020 the Williams blog, and so this is has been a great resource for us. We're really able to post 2 to 3 fresh pieces of content every week. We oftentimes engage travel writers or influencers. And so it's not just, Vicki at Visit Williamsburg telling you how great Williamsburg is. We've got some of these third parties who are equally endorsing the area. Speaking of influencers, and so this is just a smattering of folks who we've hosted within the last year or so, including Navy Corgi, the dog, who's probably, the cutest influencer we've had to date. But yeah, so we relaunched the influencer program in July of 2020. So as things were kind of starting to reopen a little bit and there were, reduced capacity, but we were reopening. And we really needed to engage influencers to help us share the story that this region was reopening safely and we were doing it the right way. And that certainly, I think, helped us as we then moved into 2021. I think 2020, obviously, everybody was still really not traveling, but it was a great opportunity for us to increase some of that brand awareness and shift perception about sort of all of the things to see and do in the area. And so our influencer strategy has been a big part of that. And, our content pieces range from sort of family travel to girls' weekend getaways to tracing back genealogical roots. And so it's been a fun program to kind of see evolve. In addition, we've partnered with several media outlets to kind of drill down even further on areas where I think we can go head to head with our competitive set. As I mentioned earlier, golf is one. We partnered with golf.com and we had some of their influencers and writers come to the area and spend a weekend. And so they produced a long form video and several short form videos that golf then pushed out through its website and social media channels. You might hear a siren behind me. And so what was great about this is that we ran it last fall and then we re-ran it again early this year. Reminding folks again of the variety of golf within a close proximity. We also partnered with National Geographic Traveler. This was sort of a labor of love. The Nat Geo reader appreciates the kind of science behind travel, right? And so we brought an Emmy Award winning photographer. I think he had come back from Tasmania or some exotic place before he visited Williamsburg. And what we focused on with him was sort of the science behind the experience. He met with archaeologists. He saw the behind the scenes stuff. He saw the digs that are taking place currently. He saw our aquaculture. He went out on a boat with an oysterman on the York River. So that was really a fun content partnership that launched about 1.5 years ago. As part of that partnership, we took over Nat Geo's Instagram channel, and you can see here just some of the very beautiful imagery that we were able to capture through that. And then moving on to food and beverage, we most recently worked with Bon Appetit, which is, part of the Condé Nast network of media outlets, to focus on our food and beverage scene. And, I have to say that when I came here, I was delighted about sort of the food that is here in the area. And again, I don't think that people realized that, who maybe didn't know the area very well or were just getting to know it for the first time. And so with that, we created a custom video and a digital article. Ben Hahn, who is a social media influencer. His handle is @StuffBenEats on Instagram. And if you're hungry, don't go onto his page because you'll be 10 times as hungry when you're done looking at his photography. But he was our talent and our host for this video. We featured 8 different food and beverage purveyors throughout the region. Some of the spots here you probably recognize. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Condé Nast then pushed out the social media content through its social channels across the board. It wasn't just Bon Appetit. It was Vogue. It was all of their outlets, which was a great win for us. And all of these produced jumps in visitation to our website. You can see it on our charts, the day some of the stuff goes live, the jumps that we see. So that's our paid advertising program. In addition, we have a substantial sales effort at play, and this is just a glimpse at what our sales action plan looks like. We focus on sporting groups, group tour, international, although international has yet to bounce back, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. What we call Smurf, and no, it's not the little blue guys in the cartoon. It's social, military, education, religious, and fraternal groups. And so over the course of the last several years, we have maintained or secured memberships with various organizations. We participate in trade shows pretty much, I would say every other week. It seems like our sales director is on to the next show. As part of this, we also, here I'm going to move forward here, produce sales leads. So any of these trade shows that we go to, within 10 business days of returning to from those trade shows, we post our sales leads or a meeting report so that you can see who we met with, what they're looking for. If we secure a request for proposals, we post those. All of these sales leads go out to the hospitality industry through our weekly email that is distributed each Friday. If you're not getting it, drop me a line. We'll make sure you get it, because there's a lot of wonderful new business leads that we bring back through our various sales efforts. Just to give you an idea of some of the shows that have recently taken place: Pennsylvania Bus Association, African American Travel Conference, the Virginia Society of Association Executives, and Connect Marketplace. And so, we're spreading the Williamsburg brand all over, and we tend to sponsor a number of these events too. So whether it's, the water bottle that's on your table that's branded Visit Williamsburg, or we'll do things like we'll get 30 minutes to present about the area to tour operators and the like. The most important thing that we're doing is talking to potential and current clients and ensuring that they know that we want their business. So speaking of leads, we also have a robust public relations, media relations program, and we are consistently looking for information, whether it's deals or packages or information about gardens, or, these are just some examples here. New things taking place, expansions, and then we make sure that what we're securing through our active media pitching. And so this is just an example of the kinds of media clips that we secure and would not happen without our media relations efforts. And so at the end of the day, how do we measure and calculate our effectiveness? Because, it's great. And some people could say, well, people would come to the area if you didn't exist. And it's incumbent on us to say, well, actually, about $400 million in visitor spending would not take place if Visit Williamsburg didn't exist. And so we've got a variety of measurement programs here. Let's start with our performance dashboard. This is directly related to how our advertising is performing, so that at any given time we can see if there are dips, if one tactic, if Sojourn's working better than Adara, we can take budget out of Adara and put it into Sojourn. If keywords are working better than others, on a dime, we're able to make those adjustments, and we're constantly monitoring that performance. We use good old-fashioned Smith Travel Research Report because, like I said, at the end of the day, and according to statute, we exist to drive overnight visitation. And so what's great about this is that we're measuring our occupancy. You can see how we're just leaping between last year and this year. This is from March. It's the most current sort of occupancy and rate report that we have. What is even better news is that 2022 is outperforming 2019. And 2019 was the strongest year that this destination had seen since 2007. And so, this is incredibly remarkable to kind of see these kinds of jumps, in particular with the fact that we only really have 1 out of 4 travel categories that have fully recovered. And so both occupancy and rate are stronger than those 2019 levels. But check this slide out, because I think that this says a lot. You can see here that domestic leisure travel spending, it's back. It's exceeding those 2019 levels. But business travel continues to lag. 56% of business travel on the national scale remains lost. And international inbound visitor spending is still down roughly 80%. So when you think about sort of our core audiences, right? So you've got, our consumer audience. So that's, Vicky going on vacation. You've got our business traveler. You've got our group traveler. So those are the folks on buses. And you've got your international travel. Out of those 4 categories, we only have leisure back, and we're beating 2019 numbers. So as far as recovery is concerned, I sit on a variety of boards and at the national level, and it's probably going to be 2024 before you see business travel back the way it was pre-pandemic. It's going to creep back. It's international, that really depends on sort of some policy decisions that are made in the near term. Do we continue with testing the way that we're currently doing that, or will that continue to make it prohibitive to travel internationally? Most of Europe has dropped a lot of sort of the testing mandates that had been in place. So, but again, things change on the daily, so you just kind of have to be flexible. We also have built an economic dashboard, and so this is where we can go and say, all right, well, the hospitality industry employs X number of people, and travel spending by commodity, visitors spent X on food, X on lodging, X on attraction tickets. And so this dashboard allows us to kind of break it down by year, but also, we can look at it regionally, or we can click on any one of the 3 municipalities and get data based on that. So, and then just some fun tools. This is a heat map. We're able to track out-of-state visitation patterns. So these are all out-of-state visitors. This is based on cell phones and mobile data. And you can just sort of see on a heat map, how an out-of-state visitor travels across the region. It's very big brother, but it's a marketer's dream. So, because that means, we can adjust our marketing message as needed. So if out-of-state visitors are primarily staying in one of the 3 municipalities and not making their way around, then we adjust our marketing message so that we're exposing them to, hey, it's only 5 minutes down the road, kind of a thing. So we also employ an ad effectiveness and return on investment study. Our typical sample size is around 2,000, anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 folks who are in our target geographic areas and meet our target demographic qualifications. And so, visitors are considered folks who travel from at least 50 miles away. And so we want to look at sort of ad awareness and, how we're performing from that perspective. So if we're targeting more than 7 million households, we want to understand, okay, out of those 7 million, how many saw those advertisements? And then we want to understand if those who saw the advertising, if they're more likely to be very familiar with the travel destination and rate it as an excellent place to visit. And so those who haven't seen our advertising don't, right? So you can see that we're adjusting those perceptions and awareness and understanding. Our impact on image, you can see here this first category, and just let's pick on the items in orange. Those who were unaware of our advertising rated Williamsburg and the region below average in several categories. Those who were aware of our advertising rated it either as good or average. And so you can see the differential there, again, shifting those perceptions about Williamsburg and the region as a vacation destination. And those who are aware, those who saw our advertising, their average trip spending is higher, they see more, they do more, and that's what we like to, they stay longer. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we want folks to stay longer and spend more money. And so that's ultimately too why you need to grow beyond sort of that traditional drive market. And so, this study, these are the highlights. This study is dozens and dozens of pages long, but at the end of the day, what we want to know is how many incremental trips we drove to the area. So how many people had not considered Williamsburg as a travel destination, saw one of our advertisements, and then went on to book travel. And so according to our 2021 ad effectiveness study, we drove more than 350,000 incremental trips to the area, which resulted in more than $468 million in spending while they were here. And, we compare that to our ad investment and what we spent on advertising in 2021. And so for every dollar that we spent on media, we returned $66 to the region in the form of fees and taxes. So I think that that's the important message, is that, when you go back to what our strategic goals are, overnight visitation, increased tax revenue, there you go. For every $1, $66 in the tax coffers. So I believe that that's my last slide. And if you're still awake, I'm happy to take any questions.
What about the others? But I'm still awake. We don't see this as locals. So as I said at the outset, we don't see the copy, we don't see the ads because it's all outside our area. But I really am reinvigorated by both the art of it and the vision of it, capturing our message, and then the science of it is astounding. And I think that's where we've really progressed in measuring the results and fine tuning. And I think you've given us a really good insight into how you do that, down to the word choice, which is just fascinating. It's a very cooperative effort locally. We've got people from City Council and the Planning Commission and businesses on the call today. So I think it's great that you are sharing that with all of us. If you have questions at this time, please put those in the chat. One question I would have, Vicki, is how can we share the marketing message that you're talking about, life at your pace? How do we do that with our locals?
Well, in terms of how do we share that the fact that this advertising campaign exists more with our locals? So good question. We do work with our local media quite a bit. And so you will probably have seen, there's been a couple articles about our influencer program. And that's been kind of exciting to see because, we're working with folks who have, followings of anywhere from, like local folks with around 3,000 followers to folks like Sean Johnson, who's an Olympian and in People magazine, it seems all the time, who have millions of followers. And so that's been a relatively not necessarily new tactic, but enhanced tactic that we've worked hard on. We talk a lot about sort of economic impact with local media. And so I think and doing things like this, I love to hear the sound of my own voice. So if anybody would like me to present at, a Rotary Club, or I'm always happy to do that. And we have hired a partnerships and content director who will be going out, meeting one-on-one with businesses, exposing, and that's really an important point too, that local businesses understand that, we're here to help. And there are so many ways that you can leverage the work that we do at no cost, whether it's supplying us with information, hosting travel writers and influencers, or just posting your business on our website and making sure that your event information is updated, creating packaging, leverage that $11 million effort that's pointing back to visitwilliamsburg.com.
Well, it strikes me that everyone who's attending today, if you're not already getting that weekly email, I'm amazed by that. That's a great two-way communication, right? Because you're not only letting us know what you're doing, but you're also continually inviting. If you want to host an influencer, if you want to add to the mini campaign, to the overall campaign, how to do that. So please make other business owners aware that they can get that weekly email, understand how our area is being marketed externally, but also participate in that through that weekly email. I think it's very helpful that you're doing that. I don't see any questions. Are there any other questions in the chat?
I don't see any questions. I see just some complimentary statements, so that's great.
But cool. Yeah, have to check that out.
And the slides will be available through our website, through the EDA website. So we always post a replay and the slides. So you went through some of that data very quickly, but very, very interesting stats there from the demographics through COVID and obviously how you've adapted. And then as a financial person, I like the measuring of the ROI. So the return on investment has been extraordinary in this regional effort, and really exciting to see that return on investment. I think we need to keep telling that story as well. So thank you very much, Vicki. We really appreciate it, and we hope you continue to share the good news and that it gets even better as we continue to recover from COVID, and very excited to hear. And I think we hear it anecdotally that we're already better off than we were at the height in 2019, and we just need to continue to move forward. And I think we're also better positioned than many areas as we come out of COVID. So we really appreciate your helping us to share that message across the whole East Coast.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share. So thanks again. And if anybody has any questions after the fact, I'm really easy to find. So
absolutely. Well, thanks for being available.
Okay.
At this point, we want to turn it over to our EDA Minute. So Janice Garbala is one of two members of our really important team that have led the economic development effort throughout COVID. We were one of the municipalities that pushed more money back out to our businesses than across the entire state, and we're actually able to get 3 rounds of those business grants. So Joanna, you want to update us on the EDA Minute?
Yes, I can do that. And one note, actually, I saw a comment come through in the chat about the tourism grant. And I believe they're talking about the tourism development grant that is run through the city of Williamsburg, and when that will resume. And I think that we are looking at kickstarting that again up hopefully later this year. So that's something to look for. We will certainly put information out there about that. So as far as what we're doing for the EDA Minute, as Mr. Overy mentioned earlier, that the June roundtable has been canceled, so we will not have one, but we are looking to resume that hybrid format come July, and I believe it'll be our 150th roundtable, so that's something to celebrate. And then also, kind of, I guess, hot off the press, yesterday's EDA meeting approved the replenishing of some of our business grants. So we ran out of funds for this fiscal year, and we actually had a few applications in the pipeline at the time. So we are very thankful to have that approved yesterday. So we'll be able to continue processing those grants for this fiscal year, moving into the next one. So that's basically it for the EDA Minute.
And thanks for all you do, helping us every single day to make it a better place to do business in Williamsburg, Joanne. I really appreciate it. I want to thank members of City Council, Ted Maslin and Barbara Ramsey are on with us, as well as Planning Commissioner John Tarley. So we've got a good attendee list, and I hope you'll encourage others to join us in July. We thank you so much for joining us for this session and hope it was really helpful to you. And we look forward to making it a great day to do business in Williamsburg. Thanks so much.